Editor, kiss me. Mwah. Hey, back up. That's me and him right there. You better back up. Don't be jealous, alright? Don't be bricked up in the chat, alright? Settle down. That's my editor, alright? Ain't nothing to it, alright? Maybe I love him. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's a mutual relationship. Maybe I just love myself. Back up. I'm getting bricked up. You best piss me off right now. Or you are trying to piss me off. Lock it in or lock it out. I'll knock you out, you son of a gun. However, today's video brought to you by a little tea action. Mama Dukes brought out the teapot, a little raspberry tea, a little something relaxing on this cold night over here in Jersey. It's freezing on some on some it's brick out here, as the people would say of Jersey and New York, of course. However, it is Brick City for sure. Yeah, time to put on the heat, get a little fire on, and then maybe watch some cartoons or some show. I heard the Fallout show's alright. Is the Fallout show good? I want to start watching the Fallout show. It makes me want to replay Fallout 4, actually, and just play that on stream, low-key. I don't know why, but I've been itching to play Fallout again. I played New Vegas, I played 3, I was a big Fallout fan, I played the DLCs. Fallout 4, I don't remember it too much. I kind of want to replay it. Should I play that game? I know it's not, has to do anything with the WoW video. Don't piss me off, you WoW nerds. Send that, put it in a mailbox, and put for 5 copper and write my name. Tello sent it to your mama. However, lock it in. Much power to you. It's like a little ASMR slurp action. Really good, but we have to wash it down with the potions of spring. Hydration Nation, don't think we forgot about you. Oh yes, indeed. Oh yes, a wicked combo nonetheless. A wicked combo. However, you're probably looking right now and you're like, what the fuck am I staring at? You're staring at a note list, alright? It's not that big. Ask your mom about that. However, it's basically things I wanted to talk about and break down to you today in a video. And then we have, like, I think, one article to go over. Once again, from Agron. Nothing to do with me, of course, this time. So Jello's out of the conversation. I'm totally happy about that. But it is nice to see, posts happening from the devs and stuff. So we'll talk about that. And then the second thing is going over a PvP set that I saw PeaceBlade talk about. So much shout out to PeaceBladeTV. Definitely check him out. Amazing paladin. I've learned a lot watching him over, my time playing like hardcore WoW in general and just learning stuff about paladins. And he's always been a great streamer representing the paladins. So check out him. But anyways, so yeah, this is stuff I wanted to talk to you about today about what to do in Phase 3 Season of Discovery, right? And we're going to talk about the pros, and we're going to talk about the cons. And then obviously my thoughts, right? So, what to do in Phase 3 of SOD. Now, currently, right now in Phase 3, if obviously any new players are coming to, Season of Discovery, or coming back from Phase 2 or Phase 1, you're coming in here, you're like, damn, there's a lot of shit to do, but I'm basically going to go over what there is to do in a nutshell, right? So right now, at the moment, your farming is uncapped to level 300. You have the opportunity, to max out all your professions, your primaries, your secondaries, and get those bad boys cooked up to 300 as much as you can, by, your own time frame. There's no race here, so by any means necessary, push it at your own, limit, don't kill yourself over it. However, yeah, farming's uncapped. You can also now grind reputation, for like Emerald Wardens, which is a part of the new Nightmare Incursions in, this phase currently in Season Discovery. Also, getting that increased PvP rep, whether there's PvP rep weekends or if you're just getting involved with the, the Warsong Gulch meta, which, that is a tiring one, but now you can get like, I believe 1,000 rep a day or something like that from the Silverwing Sentinels. If you just do the repelling the invaders or the other one for the Horde, you can get your rep really up really fast. So for idiots like myself who did the Warsong Gulch grind before any of these rep things happened, you can laugh at me in the comments below. Totally fine. I got my bracers way too early. Obviously, because I know life the fuck out of the game. For sure. My fault. I'm an idiot. And then obviously you could do some Argent Dawn rep. Even though it is limited, I do believe there's a certain point or threshold you can do Argent Dawn 2, which you guys can let me know in the comments below. However, you could start racking that up, and then, getting the Argent Dawn trinket, and then, once you get to like the end game level, start farming that out a little bit. Or go with some friends or mates of yours to start doing that. Now, getting Bist out. You could get Bist out this phase, for sure, but do note that the gear this phase in particular is kind of you know what I mean? It's not that good. A little slurpage for you. Tello T Incorporated. However, um, it is the truth. It is a little meh overall. It's okay at best. Even if I would say a person who had fully decked out Nomura gear and they were entering a phase after this, let's say maybe you didn't play this phase at all for gear and you were to get other pieces from next phase, you would still be alright. That's just me being honest with you. The gear this phase is cool, you know, cool in a sort of like, okay, I got it kind of way. There is a couple pieces that are nice. I would say here and there, like, you know, like probably like the trinket from Emerald Wardens, the ring from, you know, Sunken Temple that you get at the end, you know, the epic ring, stuff like that. And there's a couple little pieces that, you know, outshine others, but overall it's meh, you know, and everyone kind of knows this right now. We can all agree that it's kind of like, all right, it's no big deal, right? So don't stress out about gear this phase, but you can get, you know, some cool pieces, you know, your epic shoulders, which I think is the highlight more than anything, and the flask from alchemy. I think, you know, alchemy and stuff like that, enchanting are eating this phase, and they're going to continue to eat good. So stuff like that, anything from those, you know, professions and stuff, exclusives, those are really the highlights of this phase. Another thing, making gold for now, leading into phase 4. So this is, you know, making gold from professions, making gold from nightmare incursions, like we talked about in yesterday's video. Even though that video was more towards, you know, obviously the issues, which we already discussed that. We can briefly talk about it for a sec later on. But overall, we know our opinion, and us as the commenters and people part of the community where we stand on this. We all have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we're all talking about, you know, from a perspective of either the betterment of World of Warcraft, or some people just don't give a fuck about the game and they move on. But that's their right to not give a fuck about the game. More power to both sides, you know. And then also I put offering services here, if you see this, and what I mean by that is like, you know, tank services, or if you're a mage, you know, power leveling, or any other service that even hunters are really good at doing services as well, for specific ads that they, you know, they want a person wants to farm. You offer these services, so that is another really good thing. Or even services just to join a person's raid. Some people will, you know, pay a tank, especially right now if you're the Alliance, they will pay a feral. By the way, our guild hiring all feral druids. We need every feral druid possible. If you're on Living Flame, if you're a feral druid, you're more than welcome. Special treatment over here. I repeat, special treatment. We are in dire need of ferals. The more the merrier. However, besides that, leveling an alt. You can, you know, completely level an alt. You know, it's completely optional, but it helps for bank space, and you also get access to different professions, which is kind of a good thing. And I like the fact that, you know, you can, you know, play the game at your own pace, even if you were starting on alt level 1 and you weren't involved with any of like the news going on with anything of season discovery. You're brand new to it. You start at level 1, maybe meet some friends, or you have some friends you're playing with, and you could just play the game right now and try to catch up, and, you know, get involved into the game, especially with, you know, the world buff bonus. You get a lot of XP, a lot of gold from doing quests, just raw gold in general, like raw silver, raw gold, right? Just from leveling up, and then, you know, doing the incursions like at level 25, and then get into your 40 version and your 50 version. So you can get involved in the game. No matter what, anybody can get involved with SOD. It's just the willpower if that person wants to. And if for your first time doing it, I would say if this is your first time coming into season discovery and this is not your alt, it's your main, you're probably going to have a blast. But for some people, they might not want to make an alt because they're too burnt out with WoW in general, and that's totally fine. Burnout happens with a lot of games. You don't, you know, you shouldn't be needed a force to make an alt, but it's good to have an alt for bank space, right? And that's always been a thing. That's always good, no matter what. It doesn't even matter what the phase is in general. It's just good to have an alt for that, right? So, and professions. Building your guild, which is something that I think a lot of people they kind of forget about, because obviously this is a community game, right, as well. And without the community, you have no World of Warcraft. Without players to play with, you have no raids, you have no dungeons, and you have no content to even do in PvP. I wouldn't even be doing content if there was no people in general. So building your gold, or sorry, building your gold, that's another thing. Probably build your gold. How about we start buying some gold, guys? Settle down, lock it in. Building your guild, at the end of the day, since we're closer to endgame, especially in this phase, it is crucial to start building your guild now, to get in as many members involved as you can, because then you will be fully prepared for, you know, 20-man next phase with Molten Core, and also 40-man content with your guild, which is the most important thing to do. So having 40 people on par, on the same boat, with the same objective and mission to, you know, clear all the content that, you know, SOD has to offer, is the true end game at the end of the day. And this phase right here is a nice sweet spot to start a heavy recruitment phase, and I think it's really important because obviously, you know, when it comes to endgame, you're going to have downtime. You're going to have, you know, things, you know, not really much to do. And the best thing to do is recruitment, you know, and getting together within discords with your friends and, you know, breaking the ice with people and getting to know one another. And I think that's the most important thing about gaming and MMOs is getting to know individuals. So let's talk the pros of Phase 3. And let's get one more sip of this tea. It's so good. Oh yes, indeed, indeed. I like this tea. It was farmed maybe in Teneris at the south end where Horde would gank me all night. Great place. When I was trying to get the noggin fogger, the elixir, to turn into a skeleton and they were ganking me. I'll find you. Don't worry. You 2v1 me, but I'll get you next time, you son of a bitch. However, pros of Phase 3 so far. So, like I said, we have, you know, new loot, which is kind of meh, but overall, it is new loot, right? It's new, it's a new raid, it's new stuff to look forward to, and it's, you know, something exciting. You know, Sunken Temple, I will say, overall, is actually probably the coolest raid out of everything within Season Discovery so far. I think BRD was pretty, you know, I'm sorry, not BRD, BFD was pretty cool. You know, doing, like, you know, the Calrus fight, I think it was interesting how, like, how hard he was, but then he was a little overtuned, yada, yada, yada. They changed that. Made it a little bit easier for casters in general. That raid was pretty cool. The spectacle of the raid of BFD, I kind of digged it, and everybody always, you know, doing the logout skip or the Horde and Alliance killing each other. Like, it's a cool little, you know, I enjoyed it. I digged it for what it was. Phase 1 was kind of special. Phase 2 was kind of okay. It was decent. It was mediocre. I mean, Nomer was fun at first, but then you realize how crazy it was at first with the, you know, how Menadre and, you know, Thermoplug being, you know, overtuned as well, and they changed the armor values for, you know, physical DPS took a big hit during that phase, but then, you know, things got better, and then overall everybody started clearing the content, and then people were like itching for Phase 3. So I think right now with Sunken Temple, obviously hella overtuned in the beginning, and then they did a lot of nerfs. Maybe some people agree with way too many nerfs, maybe people you know, like the fact that it was a challenge. Either way, though, I think the raid itself is probably the coolest raid out of all of them. Just the atmosphere of it, going to the temple, clearing the fights. I actually really enjoy Sunken Temple. I'm not gonna lie. A part of me wishes I could do it more than once a week. But however, it is what it is. I don't want to, you know, at the end of the day, when we had that 3-day burnout, it was really, really bad, and it was like, holy shit, this burnout's crazy because people want to raid every 3 days. I kind of like the week, you know, weekly, you know, give us a break type of thing. Because at the end of the day, once we get to 60, there's going to be so much more stuff to do, and you have tons of options to set up dates and plans with your guilds and friends, or randoms, or just pugging it. So overall, I like this raid the way it is. I think it's dope, and I enjoy it for, you know, the boss fights. I like the boss fights overall, and I think it's pretty cool. New runes, new quest lines to go through. So we did get a lot of new runes this phase, which is each version of, you know, the phases that we get with Sod. We're always getting new runes, and they are pretty cool to go through. I dig some of them. Some of them are kind of, you know, meh, but we'll talk about that in the con section. But overall, you know, it is new quest lines and new places to, you know, chase after. You know, all the time with these rune quests, they have you sending you one place over the Azeroth to another. So it's like, you know, you're on a taxi ride everywhere. However, it is cool that you get to, you know, explore. After all, it is an MMO. The whole point of, you know, finding these secrets and discoveries is to, you know, go to those locations you would never think of in, you know, a thousand years or whatever. So at the end of the day, I think it's dope. I like it. And I dig the concept of, like, you know, them putting things in different places, even though sometimes it can be annoying, right? So overall, it was cool. New Nightmare Incursions. This was something I was heavily looking forward to. Even though a lot of people were comparing it to the stuff from Cenarian Hold with, like, Sithilus, or if I said that correctly, forgive me. However, or Silithus. And overall, I thought it was like, you know, I was really intrigued to see what they were going to do with these incursions, because I had, you know, examples about it when I was talking in, like, Phase 2 of, you know, if they were going to put, like, corrupted zones everywhere or something with the lore, you know, and with this void stuff. But they wound up doing incursions for, like, you know, the Emerald Warden and, like, the dragon, like the whelps within there, and, like, all the creatures you're fighting. And each, like, portal has, like, you know, different types of zones, but they're just like a remix of the zone, but, like, you know, there's Horde and Alliance in them. And overall, I mean, they're kind of cool. I dig them for what they are worth. But I do think they have a huge caveat after a while, and you start to see the cons with them. The more you do them, I do think, though, they are, you know, beginner friendly. You can get good gold from them, get your rep up relatively quickly and easily with them, and overall, it is something fun to do at first, but can dry out later on, which we'll talk about here in a sec. Profession caps unlocked. I'm totally fine with this one. I'm not actually too mad about this. I like the fact that they give us the opportunity to get all our professions up no matter what. It is a lot of professions to go through, and there's a lot of things to farm for, so it's easier said than done. Some people get their professions done relatively quickly. Some people take a little bit of time with the professions based on the prices of the auction house, or if they're playing off the market in general, or if obviously competition for the type of items they need to get the professions between Alliance and Horde. So in general, I like the fact that we are not limited and we're able to get multiple, items throughout our professions that would help us with this phase and future phases within World of Warcraft. I think that is pretty cool, and I like the fact too that they're also starting to tweak like specializations for the fact that you could switch between like gnomish engineering and goblin engineering. The same thing that which I'm assuming that they're doing now with armor smithing and weapon smithing with like blacksmith. So I like the fact that they're giving a little bit more of flexibility throughout a lot of like different specializations within professions itself. New STV weapons and gear, so that's something that you can chase after. There's a couple nice fun pieces for different classes to go for within STV, and you can get them relatively quickly. I think when I got Parasomnia, like day 1, day 2, I think I got it day 1. I did like 3 events and I got my sword, and I got the Libram, the Dragonkin. I think it's what, 35, 36 AP towards Dragonkin. So I got that, and I was like, pretty dope. I was like, this is nice. And it's pretty accessible. A lot of different classes have a lot of different gear pieces, so you could still chase after a lot of cool things if that's what you guys want to go after. I'm sure there's some stuff in there even for myself that I can chase after, but I'm kind of good with the stuff that I wanted. I got the things I feel like I needed for my setup, and I'm pretty chill with it. But overall, an option once again within the game, something to do. And then finally, a chance to rack up on mats that weren't accessible in Phase 2 and prep for next phase, for Phase 4. So that's a big thing, is that preparation of, like, this phase is a big preparation phase, I feel like, in the readiness of getting to next phase and future phases within this version of World of Warcraft. And I feel like, this is a perfect time for you to stack up, like, on the Arcanite bars, anything with, like, different alchemy materials, different NG materials, just in general, just racking up on material. I know for a fact the biggest material that I'm racking up on right now is elemental earth and elemental fire. I am actually racking that up right now and buying it at low prices on the auction house. So that's something that I plan on maybe trying to reflip on the auction house next phase, trying to make some, a good bang, a good burst for money, if anything, because I know that will be used, for those pots within, AQ20 and stuff like that later down the line. Especially a lot of tanks will be buying stuff like that for, like, for example, like nature resistance and stuff. But overall, ideas that you can find throughout this phase that you were limited to of last phase, and more things to explore in general, and different options to think about of prepping for next phase in general. And that comes to terms of prepping with your gold, prepping for the epic mount that you're going to have to farm, unless you don't have your rep up to a certain threshold with Stormwind or Orgrimmar or whatever you have your rep at. Because I know for a fact it's like 1,000 gold, but with rep, and like if you hit Exalted, I think it's like 800 gold. So just that type of thing, those type of things to think about is what I like about this phase in general so far. So that is the pros of Phase 3 of what I like. So let's take a quick little sippage, and we'll be back after this commercial break. Hold on for you. Indeed. However, so, cons of Phase 3 so far. Now, obviously, I talked about, and you saw that was a big sigh right there. That was, I talked about yesterday, my issues with, like, Nightmare Incursions and, things that are kind of like, meh and wrong with the game, I feel, overall, so far, at this current time. And I feel like there are a lot of things that could have been improved in Phase 3. Now, let me explain this before we even continue. Do note, I am talking about these things from the end game Phase 3 perspective. I'm not talking about this from a casual perspective. I understand there might be some people that leave comments below after things I'm going to say, and they'll be like, oh, well, you're just a no-lifer, you try hard. I'm playing the game at this rate for you guys to let you know what is ahead, let you know what you're going to hit. All right, so I'm basically the warning sign on the highway for you before you hit that stop sign. And I'm just giving you the benefit of the doubt if you want to make a U-turn, park the car a little bit, or maybe go into second, third gear and slow that bitch down because you're on sixth gear right now, okay? Because I'm hitting the nitrous right now with my guild, and we're going fast. That's just the way we play, but has nothing to do with anybody else. I love World of Warcraft. I love the casual playstyle. I love the hardcore playstyle. I've done both. I played with no guild, and I played with a big guild and bigger guilds back in the day. So, just letting you know, don't come at me, guys. I'll slap the shit out of you. However, back it up. I'll kiss you. So, when you get to the end of Phase 3, you're going to realize that the raid loot is severely underwhelming. It is to the point where it is not worth stressing about. Not worth spending the 50 gold for Nightmare Seeds like they were week 1, which I fucking said in my video, and I called it. I'm not trying to be one of those, I called it. I'm just saying, I did call it. Don't spend your money on this bullshit. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be ways for people to, you know, get their epic items relatively cheaper and more efficiently rather than more expensive and quicker in the beginning. However, everybody plays the game at their own different pace, and they're all, you know, different types of play styles when it comes to WoW. Overall, though, you know, the raid loot was underwhelming. The loot within there is like meh at best. It's like the stat upgrades are really very marginal differences, and especially if you're like a parse Andy, which I understand you're chasing after those best in slot parts, but they're very incremental differences between, you know, how much damage you're doing if you had all the gear compared to if you had some of the pieces of gear or not any. And it's not to say that the raid loot is bad, but it's just to say that it's like mediocre at best, and it's okay. That's why I was saying earlier, even if you missed this phase or you just came to the end of this phase and did some stuff like small things here and there, you wouldn't be really missing out on so much to the point where you can't just make up for it next phase once you get to 60 and get other pieces. So I think this loot is cool overall, but I do think, yeah, the loot itself could have been, you know, tuned a little bit more better than I thought, or better than maybe as a community we thought in general. And it is what it is at the end of the day. There's a couple pieces in there that are, you know, shiny. They're pretty cool to have, but a lot of those pieces were, even like, for example, as my perspective as a paladin, I look forward to no weapons within this phase at all besides the Parasomnia, which I got for PvP, which is also kind of like okay so far, and the Thrays that I got from Zulfa Rock. But not one weapon within raid I want, not even the Chieftain's Bane. I think that's better for warriors, if anything. But they took out, you know, the Tail of Aranicus, and I know that's getting reworked, even if it ever comes back at all, you know. And even though it was data mined, and we don't know the truth to 100% of all of it, so don't come at me in the comments. I know the story already. However, I'm just saying, it's just the truth. So let's move on. The runes this phase are not that amazing. Some are better than others, and in general, runes need reworking. I already made these like videos and talking about this, how like it was ridiculous what they did with paladins. It was ridiculous what they were having force and warlocks and mages to do, and how we were all working together. Even priests were involved with it as well. But a lot of these runes in general were kind of just underwhelming at best, and a lot of runes overall need to be looked at. There are classes for runes that just people will not use whatsoever. You got the rune, but it's trash. You know, it's like, why do we even have this rune? And why are we forgetting about runes from previous phases that nobody's even fucking using? I'm sure there's an Excel sheet or some type of data analytical fucking, you know, chart or graph that shows the usage of certain runes compared to the usage of any other runes. Like, here's a perfect example, right? For my paladins out there, has anybody used Rebuke? Tell me, has anybody used Rebuke, and then we'll talk about it. Has anybody used Divine Storm? If you guys are still on the Divine Storm raid, I'm not hating you. More power to you. It's still, you know, decent in PvP. But in PvE, have you used Divine Storm? I mean, come on now. You know, and that's just an example, right? There's a lot of other classes suffering. I feel like a lot of these runes in general, I almost don't like them as runes. I feel like some of these things should have been passive books. I'm a more fan of these passive books thing that they did, you know, with like, you know, giving the buffs to much needed stuff, you know, like improved fortitude, stuff like that, improved Mark of the Wild. What's another one? I think it's like the improved blessing of might, blessing of wisdom for like it's like 10 minutes rather than 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like I like the book ideas rather than just runes, and I feel like there should be more of these passive books and scriptures tied within quest lore that make exploring Azeroth a little bit more juicier and fun for like the nerdy people of World of Warcraft. Like myself and anybody else. I just think it's cool, and that's all I want to get at with that. But yeah, they were overall. I do think they need. There's a lot of runes that need some fixing. And I'm sure Blizzard and the dev team are aware of that, and it's a matter of time if they tackle that or not. Nightmare incursions. They have issues, and they're not that fun. They need further assistance. Now, when I thought we were going to do nightmare incursions, I really thought, like, man, these are going to be so cool. Like, there's going to be active PvP in there. Maybe there might be some dope, world bosses we fight in there. And it's going to be an actual fun challenge, and there's cool rewards to go forwards or go towards to and grind. But now it's like, dude, everyone's hitting Exalted and Nightmare Incursions. For those who are, like, obviously active playing the game. I'm not talking about, like, casuals, right? For active players, you can blast through the rank of getting Exalted. So fucking easy. So easy without even looking at it or tracking the progress of your bar, where it's like, now you're Exalted, what's going to happen next phase? Is that just going to be used for upgrade gear? Did Blizzard expect people not to hit Exalted that fast? And also, the content within the incursions, they're just loops. You're just doing mindless loops, like you're playing Call of Duty and you're running around with an MP5 red dot from MW2 or some shit, and you're just mindlessly just running in loops, or just jumping into the B flag when people are throwing grenades at it. You know what I mean? Like you're just mindlessly headless chicken mode. Everybody's following each other like a bunch of headless chickens or sheep. And you're just handing in stuff for gold, and that's why they did the silent nerf to the Zerg meta, right? We talked about all this stuff already. I don't want to go too far into it because you already know that video's there for you guys to watch, right? But overall, it's not fun. It's not as cool as I thought. And I was talking to my friends earlier, and I was like, what would be cool if they made incursions where, like, if you went in them, and this is just like, we're theory crafting. We're just theory crafting, guys. If you went into an incursion and there was portals that you would take that would lead to nightmare incursion based dungeons all through Classic, where they're nightmare versions of Dead Mines or Wailing Caverns or SFK, whatever, just in general. And they're level 60, and their properties and item drop rates are upgraded for new players and especially casual players to get themselves some pretty decent gear, starting out gear or even pre-raid gear to get them involved within next phase. I thought that would be pretty cool. Or new dungeons in general. I know this sounds crazy, Blizzard. How about new dungeons within the incursions that are nightmare related or something tied to the lore, or hell, even if you want to do something, and I know this is a long shot, don't shoot me, commenters, even if it was something to do with War Within, something to do with it. I'm not saying it turn this into retail. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying, since this is an alternate version of what we're playing of World of Warcraft, of Season of Discovery, right? This timeline or whatever the fuck we're doing. I'm just saying it would be cool to try new things out, new innovation, new type of ideas in general. If people don't want like dungeons or whatever, like I was just mentioning, I'm just saying actual cool content rather than running in fucking loops. Anything besides running in fucking loops is better than what we're doing right now. And I'm going to stick to that 10 toes down. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. However, professions and mats and consumes are really high in the auction house, which are part of the economy issues at the moment. Once again, another thing we talked about in my video, how, the economy right now is currently in a fucked situation. And is there the potential of it healing? We went back and forth with many of the commenters yesterday, and I appreciate all you guys who leave comments. I actually respect the minds of like a lot of these people who are being intellectual about, they're being genuine about their thoughts, and I respect that. So, and we already discussed this, but yeah, the economy is in a really weird state right now, to the point where for a new player coming into this, even if you didn't make all that gold, and even if you did get involved, you're going to get to a point where if you're not obviously like studying Wowhead nonstop, finding yourself involved within World of Warcraft and the community and stuff, you might be lost. And then you see the prices of like these profession items, and you realize it costs more money to level up your professions than it is worth putting the time into the game. And it can be a little underwhelming and a little nerve-wracking for new players to just jumping into season discovery right now. But I do say it is still possible to get yourself involved, playing sod, and jumping right into it. But it is like you're coming into a phase right now where the economy is a little shaky, is what I'm getting at, and it's just the truth. I'm not lying to you, you know. Things are costly, and you can make money doing incursions in general, or any other methods of how you are trying to farm it. And you have to obviously look online, follow Wowhead, follow other websites to level up your professions and stuff. The data is already out there for you to do it, but it is not going to be easy is what I'm getting at. It's not super easy, but all I'm saying is that yeah, this phase showed us the issues with what was going on, especially what we mentioned in the last video with the stuff that was happening in Sunken Temple with the Nightmare Seeds. Obviously the Warlock meta, which I'm hearing about. There was like a Warlock exploit meta with like the treasure stuff and portals. I've been hearing stuff about that, and obviously other things that we discussed in the video. Overall, that's all I want to say about that. I don't want to waste too much time. STV is underwhelming, and with the lack of changes to the event, PvP issues as well, needs further help. And this is 100% the truth. STV is by far the biggest disappointment for me in this phase. I expected so much more. Game modes, like domination or something, like some style to change STV to give it a little bit more hip, a little hop to it, like a little bit more swag. And I didn't see none of that. You just upgraded the vendor and you said, people, just do the same shit again. And it's not that exciting to me personally. It's kind of, I haven't even touched STV ever since I'm going to be honest with you. Haven't touched STV since I got my Parasomnia, got my sword and my trinket, left it. Because I just don't give a fuck. It's boring. And that's just being honest. I'm being an honest person who consumes this game, being an honest consumer with you. It's not that fun. You're not even going to care about it as well. And for some people, they don't even care about PvP right now due to the fact that everything is so fucking bursty this phase. And it seems like it's only going to get worse because it hasn't changed. So it seems like next phase, the burst is going to be even more unreal. And there is issues with that. There is so many issues. There's such bad imbalance in PvP. Whether they ever decide to change that, that's completely up to them. But I think it's only going to get more to this nuke meta as far as we go on within season discovery overall. I think it needs further help. It needs further eyes on it. But the team at over there at Blizzard that's working on SOD, there's only so much that they can do with how fast and the pace they're pushing, and also those like decisions and things that go through. They get met by a person who approves or denies those decisions, and it's up to them to take heed to what the player base is saying, or up to us to literally just like stop playing the game and forcing them to listen to us, because at the end of the day, if we need changes, we got to work together as a player base. Us, me and you as a community, we have to work together if we want change, and that's just the truth of it. But overall, yeah, that's my problems with STV and the PvP meta. Phase 3 came out without proper testing, no PTR. I think Phase 3 was released with a lot of hype, but then that week when no one was ready for it, no one can call off of work. I remember hearing so many complaints in the forums and people saying, dude, I wasn't ready for this shit. What the fuck is going on? We're releasing this unexpectedly. And they even admitted they did a poor job of, the timing of this. They just needed to get it out according to their, their quarter, their map, their roadmap. But overall, it was like, dude, and no PTR on this, therefore that met a lot of issues with the overtuning. They never even tested their own raid. Still, some classes are more busted than others. We had issues with exploits, which I mentioned in the VOD yesterday. And obviously, it was just poorly tested. I think that's a problem. And now there comes the issue where it's like how long this phase lasts with the lack of content that you will hit once you get to the end game of this phase, not next phase, this phase, and you'll realize you'll hit a wall, which is totally fine because that gives you a message of basically saying, hey, dude, chill on World of Warcraft, play another fucking game. But when that next phase comes out, is it going to take longer or not, or is it going to become quicker? And if so, has it been properly tested? There's this way on release, there was no fucking issues. But then again, when it comes to WoW releases, there usually is issues on release with something, and it's not always perfect. So it is what it is. And then finally, the once a week lockout might dry out when there's a lack of content this phase. And this is to talk about, what I was just mentioning before. I am a little bit concerned with the player base numbers this phase dwindling down faster than the previous two phases. The reason why is because once you complete everything you need to do within this phase, getting your professions up, preparing your character for next phase, possibly leveling an alt if you want to, or if you're a new player just getting a part of the boat the first time of Season Discovery, you'll have a lot to do. As a new player, this will be a broader perspective. But as a player who's been playing the game actively and is a part of the community, obviously I'm a content creator. I make this stuff for you guys, so you guys can, see what's going on. I show you what's happening, and I'm telling you my truth as a person who digested this game, and at the end of the day, it's a little dry. I'm just gonna be flat out and be honest with you. It's dry. There is really not much to do at the end game besides grinding wild offerings, doing your raid once a week if you complete it, right? And finishing out your professions, doing your rep, stuff like that. It sounds like there's a lot, but then when you're actually in the bare bones of it, you realize after a while it's like, okay, well, there's not as much as I thought. And it could be a little dry is what I'm getting at. And there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, MMOs are meant to have that life cycle of like, okay, well, you did your thing, you had fun, you did all the activities you can. Now it's time to take a break. Maybe go outside, get some air, or go do something else IRL, and then come back to the game, and that's totally chill. That's like for example, when it comes to like WoW, when I do PvP and shit, like I'm not doing it every fucking day. I could be a madman, blow my brains off. I do PvP every day, right? Which I did in the beginning of phase 1, phase 2. But now when it comes to like phase 3, I'm chilling the fuck out. I'm not stressing it. You know what I mean? There's other games to play. There's other things to do with your friends, and MMOs and WoW in general. Like I've played other MMOs like New World. I used to back in the day. I used to play DC Universe Online. If you ever guys remember that, I was big into DC Universe Online. I used to love that game. And other MMOs, of course, right? Like Elder Scrolls Online, etc. When it comes to MMOs, take your time. This is not a race. Enjoy yourself at your own pace, and you will get to the finish line eventually. And when you do, it'll be bittersweet because, it's like a story ending, and a new chapter awaits, which is the next phase eventually. But if anything, if you're that person who likes to make an alt and you like to start over again, that's totally fine. Make an alt, but do know that you're gonna go through that grind, and all that stuff that I just mentioned is what awaits you at the end game. It's the same thing. It's just you're gonna have a new character with a new kit, and if you like doing that, more power to you. Nothing wrong with it. But that's just the truth. That's what I wanted to explain to you guys today about the state of Season of Discovery, Phase 3. And that's basically where I rest my case with all of that. Now, in other news, let's pull this up here. I'm going to show you this here, and we can talk about it. And then we'll discuss it from there. Editor, I like that transition. That was pretty clean right there. So, feedback requested upon class changes this Season of Discovery. So it looks like the senior producer, Josh Greenfield, took to Twitter to ask feedback regarding upcoming class changes in SOD. Agron basically stated that SOD team has been hard at work listening and attempting to respond to player feedback, and further feedback on changes would be welcome as the team attempts to adjust balance ahead of Phase 4. So Agron said the team focused on SOD and had spent a good chunk of the last few days chewing on a rather large list of class adjustments coming soon. Like actually soon, not soon, tomorrow soon. As we always want to prime everyone that it's not going to fix every single thing everyone wanted, but we're continuing to iterate. We've been watching Discords and forum ideas and suggestions as we go, and while that's fine and good, I figured it'd be fun to exercise to probe for a few suggestions here to a few targeted questions. Disclaimer, there may be an excellent idea here and there that you love that we can't execute on for whatever reason. Game dev isn't easy, as sometimes you have to pass on a good idea for a myriad of reasons. It's nothing sinister and it's not us to be tone deaf, but many things are also too big to hotfix, so we have to think about what we do now versus next phase. So feel free to post suggestions or links to media with good suggestions in reply. Please do keep it civil though, both towards me, the team, and each other. I've been increasingly having to mute block folks with abusive, unhelpful commentary, so let's all be chill humans together. Lastly, please try and frame your suggestions with both A, the issue to be addressed, B, your suggestion phrased as concisely as possible. We will likely won't have time to read super long posts / threads to find the meat of your point, so this will help, he says, while typing a super long post himself. Okay, so anyways, Shadow DPS for Priest. We like to increase the damage while allowing them to still shine in groups or terms of group utility, particularly because their utility such value is likely to increase even further at 60, with some new stuff coming. One thing we also keep coming back to is, as well as wanting to restore Mindflay to have a place in the toolkit. Interesting. With that in mind, how would you suggest improving Shadow DPS with the goals in mind? So this is questions we have for the comments below. Guys, if you have any questions for any one of these, please let me know your thoughts. Obviously, you know, I'm not an expert of all classes. I am aware of like some class issues, but leave your comments on what you think is problems with these classes below. We can discuss it and maybe get some more points out to, you know, the WoW dev team in general, right? Survival tree for hunters. We all know a lot of melee hunters really want survival to be a thing. We agree that it fits the RPG ranger class fantasy. Currently, BM tends to outstrip it in terms of raw output. What do you think could be interesting in the I don't even know what this pronounced, in the Zush to miss? What is he saying right here? Zush this up? Is that he saying a word? Zush, and make deeper survival investment interesting. Okay, Holy Paladins. Here we go. We did you guys a bit dirty. You damn right you did, bro. Much respect to my Holy Paladins. Much love to you. I hope you guys shine on. However, we did you guys a bit dirty by not giving you interesting buttons to push like every other healing class. The view through a level 60 vanilla lens is Holy is great, but inside it leaves a lot to be desired, which is true. A lot of Holy Paladins, I've been arguing this for the longest. Where's the chest rune? Where's like some cool kind of, you know, group healing, etc. One thing we've been discussing is a group heal or some sort of proactive heal mechanic for Holy, which would be nice, but interested to hear some concise ideas here. I think they need love. Sword rogues. One of my friends are not too excited about this, actually. He glimpsed it and told me a little bit about it. We have some adjustments coming in the upcoming update, but we are open to ideas for how to make Saber Slash and other sword gameplay compelling. Might simply be do more damage adjustments that fixes this in the end, but we're interested in Feelsley adjustment ideas too. And finally, warriors. About rage. Interesting. Rage is a problematic mechanic because more damage equals more rage equals more damage. Obviously, more rage in Infinity and Beyond, right? So this is going to be more problematic at 60. If we have to do it all over again, we would like to normalize rage. Example, you don't get rage when you do more damage / crit. Wow, interesting. At the start of the season and focus on major changes to their gameplay to compensate, the way it would work now really hamstrings the design option for warriors, as we have to worry about the historically best DPS in the game becoming even better later, and forcing us to do absolutely massive nerf, which everyone hates. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you don't want to nerf warriors. Like, obviously, once they get to 60, they're fully fucking decked out. They become the top DPS with all the buffs and all the consumables, all the nukes. Warriors fucking crank. It's just the truth. And to you, what would be a great trade for some form of normalized rage at 60 if we had to do such a thing? That's interesting. Warriors, what do you guys think? Like, let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about normalized rage? Same thing happened with Paladins whenever they normalized Seal of Martyrdom, right? So I'm very curious about your thoughts and inputs. To close out at this point, we are always open to the novel for any class, include things that don't strictly borrow from future expansions. Our philosophy on this has shifted from when we started development of the season. Now we'd love to experiment with totally new mechanics that ideally fit somewhat plausible into the classic ecosystem. Not to say we won't use future expansion spells, but there are willingness to expand our horizons a bit. And that's what I like right there, is the fact that you're willing to try new things that we haven't seen in retail and just give it to sod, because that's what Discovery is all about, is getting a little wonky, getting a little crazy, almost dipping into the realm of, like, I know WoW Ascension is not a WoW thing tied to Blizzard, but dipping into the realm where we get a little fucking crazy, you know? And that's what Discovery is all about. Anyway, sorry for the length. We've had a lot of fun just, you know, trawling Discords and forums recently, but figure I'd just throw this into the maelstrom. and see what we get here as well. Thanks. So I thought that was a pretty good article. I'm very curious to see what they would do in general. And leave me guys your thoughts and comments below on what you feel is this good feedback? Is this good, commentary? Because I like the fact that the devs are getting involved in Discords. Agron's involved, obviously, in the Paladin Discord. I love, having, the back and forth conversations that he has with people in there. And it's been great being involved with the Discords, especially the tight-knit community is a really good thing. So I like that. In general, awesome article. And then finally, this final thing I want to show you guys is a small little PvP update. This is, once again, PeaceBladeTV. Go holler at them. I actually took this build and I tested for myself, and it's pretty badass. Now, what you basically would be doing here is using the 3-piece lamellar setup from, the shoulders, the gauntlets, and you would be using the boots, and you'd be using the 3-piece knight setup, which I've also debated with myself if I could be using the 3-piece whaling setup from the Sunken Temple, the 3-tier raid piece, which I think is also a good option as well to mix and match around with the knight and lamellar setup. But overall, this is if you have full constitution from the basically the lesser arcanum, and you get 300 health points. We rock minor haste for a 1% increase in attack speed, and then debating on where you want to go from here, you can do greater agility, you can go superior strength. Obviously we go with agility, two-hand agility, which is a costly enchant, by the way. But overall, one of the biggest decision makers here is your cloak, because you can go with greater resistance, which might give you that 5 resistance to anything, and you could possibly resist something versus another class. So it's an option, or you can go with 3 agility if 3 agilities make it or break it, and I don't really think it's that much. I actually like the greater resistance almost, but overall it does require harder materials to access, and most likely materials you won't be able to get, so we would have to go with the 3 agility overall, just in general. So 3 agility, it is what it is. We'll stick with that, and then we'll simulate our DPS here, which we're at 559. Now, by the way, this is what a Seal of Martyrdom build, and you can see here, what's perfect about this build too, is we're at a 5% hit cap of where we need to be with 4% spell hit. We get some spell crit, obviously with Chief of Light, boosting our numbers as well. And then we're rocking about 4,000 health, 2,800 mana, 273 strength, 139 agility, 123 intellect, and obviously the spell power skyrockets from, Sheaf of Light, of course, right, when our Art of War Exo build comes online. Now, these are with the settings, by the way, because most likely, this is when you're in a battleground and you have the correct buffs on. This is with having Blessing of Kings, this is with having Mark of the Wild, Shout, anything else with Intellect, Leader of the Pack, etc., if you have the optimal setup within a battleground. Obviously, if you don't, these numbers will drop down to around the 400s, but overall, this is the norm. This is what I personally would love to run in PvP, and honestly as well, you can run the Parasomnia with this build. I know it sounds weird running with Seal of Martyrdom, but if you look at the simulations, it works. It's not much of a big difference. It's just you get the Sol Thrace has the better attack speed overall, which leads to the better proc rates. Overall, that's the build, and that's how you get to this build. You're probably looking at Roar of the Guardian here, because obviously we're rocking Roar of the Guardian, because we would basically just use it when we're off cooldown of our PvP trinket. So when our PvP trinket is wasted, you switch to this, pop this bad boy, you get the 70 increase AP for 20 seconds during the fight, and then you switch back to your PvP trinket. But in general, this is what I would run overall for my build. I think it's pretty dope, pretty sick, and I like it. I actually really enjoyed PeaceBlade's video. I think that was a really good VOD. If anything, you know what, I might link his video below, just so you guys can check it out for any paladins out there. So we'll put it in the description below. In general, that's about it. Much love to you. Appreciate for y'all sticking around. I know this was a long one today. Holy shit, 47 fucking minutes. I'm gonna have to put a lot of timestamps down here. This has been a while since I've done one of these lengthy videos, so much power to you. And as always, I hope you enjoy it. Maybe watch this while you're going to bed, or possibly edging in Minecraft. Settle down, not that type of video. And I'll catch you on the next one. As always, amigos, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you. Peace. Editor, why is my tea cold? I'm gonna beat...